Hello, my friends. I'm Ananda, the Galactic Mystic, and this is your Navigational Astrology forecast for Thursday, October 7th, 2021. Well, mystical, brilliant, beautiful souls, we are still in this wild Libra new moon energy. I will bring up the chart for you so you can see what I'm seeing. Okay. So we are still in the new moon phase. The Sun and Mars are exactly on top of each other today, conjunct at 14 degrees of Libra, and this is squaring both divine feminine star Sirius and the fixed star Vega in the Lyra system. Now, the Vega star is associated with the connection to the goddess Ma'at, the Egyptian goddess of truth and justice, and Sirius is thought of as our spiritual sun, as divine mother connection to goddess Isis. So these two energies are sort of forming a T-square with this Sun-Mars conjunction and this new moon. So there's a lot of divine orchestration going on, a lot of challenging but correct energy. And on a personal note, you may be feeling this in your personal life with your relationships. This particular period of time is huge for how we are relating to others. Any relationship that is not on just ground, that is not an equal relationship, is not going to be able to survive some of these transits we have coming up, particularly this new moon, because Mars here opposing Chiron with this quincunx with Uranus. This is going to make things, anything that is not, like I said, on just ground in your personal life is going to really feel the strain. And I know that may be uncomfortable, but we don't want those things in our lives anymore. We are ready for healthy, mature, balanced, evolved relationships, aren't we? Yes, we are. So Mercury retrograde is here at 18 degrees and is inching closer and closer to the Sun and Mars, and will be creating that triple conjunction on Saturday. So I know you couldn't have missed the Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp down situation. That fits in perfectly with this type of energy. However, I would expect more. I did a video called Information Explosion about this triple conjunction, and we really are having an information explosion, aren't we? We have this kind of out of nowhere, at least to me it seems like out of nowhere, this Facebook whistleblower who was on 60 Minutes and has now spoken to Congress and now has a website and a PR team, I think, and is ready to begin booking other spots and other TV shows or whatever. And with that in mind, and with a lot of what's going on in mind, information-wise, I want to direct your attention back to the nodal axis. Okay. I haven't talked about this in the dailies in a while, but with the nodal axis, with the south node and the north node, this is our leading edge guidance sort of overall for the period of time that they are in a set of signs. And the north node in Gemini is the leading edge advice to keep asking questions, to keep our minds open, to not take things at face value, to ask questions that lead to more questions, and to kind of settle in to not having it all figured out. And so in that spirit, I just want to say, since when do whistleblowers get to speak to Congress? And since when do whistleblowers get on 60 Minutes and have a website and a PR team? I mean, I don't know. That is some fishy there, in my opinion, in my Gemini North Node mindset. I don't know. The moon is in Scorpio today, so we might have a moody couple days while the moon is going through here, particularly if we're having some relationship upsets. But the big news, other than what the Sun, Mars, and Mercury are doing, is that Venus is now in Sagittarius and in conjunction with the South Node. And this is creating a new cycle of relationships, of the way that relationships define us, and the particular types of relationships that we want in our lives that are those defining relationships with others. Venus in Sagittarius really wants to have a deeper connection, wants to have a philosophical connection. We want to be able to share our sort of life rules, the morals and the codes that we live by. We want our partners and the people that we are relating to share those things with us, to have that in common. And it's not so much about looks or money or all of that surfacey stuff, where it's true that Sagittarius energy may not be particularly sentimental, although we may be feeling that a little bit with the Scorpio moon, but it doesn't mean it isn't that Venus in Sagittarius isn't loving or supportive. It's also an energy that invites people that are different than us into the fold, to be able to eat. My words are like not working today. To be able to relate to people who are different from you easier. This creates an interest in people's stories, stories that may sound wild and just totally different than our own experience. We want to be talking to people who have a different background, different ideas, because when we do that, seriously, Sagittarius energy is literally all about leaving where you are, meaning leaving your comfort zone in order to explore other people's comfort zones. And why would we want to do that? Because when we do that, we realize how big the world is, how big and vast human experience is. And we end up judging people less. We end up looking down at people less because we're actually hearing their stories. We're relating to them in this way that is welcoming their experience, even though it's totally strange to us or out of our normal experience. There's this thing about this weird mentality that if I've never seen that happen, then it's never happened before. I've never seen people behave that way, so it's never happened before. I've never experienced that, so it's never happened before. This is a ridiculous mindset, and I see this all the time. And Venus in Sagittarius is going to challenge us in that way and is going to ask us to grow in those ways. And those are some really good ways to grow. Other big news today, Pluto. Yes, Pluto is no longer retrograde, although he's stationed, so he's not like plowing forward or anything. It will be, well, let me look at my notes here. It will be, it's going to be a minute before he really gets trucking. And honestly, when Pluto either goes direct or goes retrograde, the way he does things, he's so slow in how he moves that it's like he creates this like portally weirdness that we don't usually notice with other planets, because when most other planets go direct or go retrograde, they hit the degree and minute that they're going to do that in. They station direct or retrograde, station, and then go direct or retrograde, whichever they're doing. It all happens at the same time. But Pluto does this thing where like October 1st, he hits the degree and minute where he's going to go direct. And then several days later, he stations retrograde. And then a couple days later, he stations, which is where we are now. And then a few days later, he like moves out of that degree. So it's, or moves out of that degree and minute. So for all intents and purposes, Pluto is no longer retrograde, but we're still in a little bit of a portally, a Pluto portal of weird sensation situation. But once he starts picking up steam, we could really see some things going on in the world stage. And honestly, that's probably going to be the case for the entire month of October, because we also have Saturn, Jupiter, and Uranus going direct this month, among a slew of other crazy, wild astrological events. This is one of the most exciting times to be an astrologer. It's truly, truly fascinating. Oh, I didn't say the beacon card for today is the Death card. So this is endings. This, you know, this is very Plutonian. This is very Pluto, Mars, death and rebirth. We know when one thing ends, another one begins. And this is the act of phoenixing. We're all going through that, aren't we? At some level. The sacred cycles of life, my friends. Well, I hope you're doing really well. Thank you for being here, for being on this journey with me. Thank you for liking and subscribing and for coming to see me every day. I really appreciate you, and I'm sending you all my love. I will see you tomorrow.